Hi, my name is Jackie from Xenojack Studios. Today I wanted to discuss a deeper dive into becoming a fursuit maker. So I've watched a lot of tutorials about how to start taking commissions, but they all seem to be too simple or too surface level for the real furry economy. Yes, there is a furry economy. I'll probably talk about that in a different video. So I am going to cover what I've learned, what I wish I knew when I first started setting up commissions, and of course the essentials. First, we're going to talk about the TOS. So a TOS stands for Terms of Service, and a TOS is basically a legal document telling your customers how your business is ran and how exactly the interaction of commissioning is supposed to go. A couple of things you want to put in your TOS is what you do and do not allow for commissions, your personal legal protections, or how you will be paid. Remember that your TOS is essentially a contract, so your customer has to confirm in writing that they have completely read your terms of service before the commission process can begin. A couple of things that aren't legally binding is writing in your TOS something like, by commissioning me you have agreed to my terms, or if your customer is a minor. Contracts between a minor and a seller is not legally binding, which is why a lot of makers do not accept minors as customers. If you want to stay open to minor customers, that's fine, but you have nothing legal to back you up. Also, I just want to say I'm not a lawyer. I am not certified to give out legal advice. This is just stuff that I know and stuff that I have heard from other people. There is, of course, a lot more that goes into writing a TOS that really needs its own video. But if you need some guidance, you are completely allowed to use my TOS as a guide, which I will link in the description. Speaking of legalities, there might be some documents that you need to get your hands on before you can start a business. This really depends on where you live, whether it be the state that you live in within the United States, your province, your territory, what country you live in other than the United States. I am from Texas, and so far I have something called a tax ID number, which is essentially how you pay your taxes as a business. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just telling you this because I know this and it might be helpful. And this is such a big thing. You need to pay your taxes. When you become a business, your profits will be taxed. This may vary again from where you live, but for me, you only have to pay taxes if you earn more than $600 a month. If you have to pay taxes, freaking pay your taxes. And now you're essentially going to have a base. This is a place where you mainly talk about your commissions, take your commissions. This can really vary depending on how big of a budget you have. A lot of people will use a social media, which is the cheapest option. And some advice that I would like to give is you should probably only use one of your social medias to take commissions. If you have multiple social medias, that's great for your marketing, but having one social media where you take all of your commissions really just make sure that you have your eggs in one basket. The next level up is selling sites, and this can range from eBay, this can range from Etsy, this can range from the Dealer's Den. Now, I've never used the Dealer's Den before, but I think it might not really be a place to take commissions, but really only to sell premates. Again, I can't really tell you because I've never used it before, but if you want like a niche furry only resource, then that's a really good place to look. The next step up is making your own website, which is what I'm currently doing right now. There are a couple of ways to create your own website. You can learn coding, and right now I'm doing a marketing class, and one of these segments we did learn some website coding, and I'm telling you it's not a very easy thing to learn. So if you're not really willing to learn and you're just okay with buying off of a CMS, and that's essentially your Wix, your Squarespace, your WordPress. Now, there are a lot of benefits to different CMSs. The one that I use is Squarespace. I have used WordPress and Wix before. WordPress is kind of hard to figure out. It's sort of like a Wild West, and you do need like a third party such as GoDaddy.com, and that is definitely the cheapest way to go, is using WordPress and GoDaddy. But again, it's not very easy, and if you're looking for something that is a lot easier, then I would suggest Squarespace. These people are not sponsored, by the way. I just wanted to recommend them for people who are looking for a resource. Next, we're going to move on to prices. So prices can have a lot of variation depending on a lot of factors. A couple of the things that determine how you price your commissions is your skill level. So like, how much have you practiced? What do you know? What can you offer? How much you spend on materials. And this can vary from your material preference, if you like building your foam bases from scratch, or maybe you buy your foam bases, or maybe you use those realistic resin bases. If you do computer works for things like protogens, you need to base a lot of your pricing off of that. And then another thing that's really important is your hourly rate. This is essentially what you are paid for your labor. And I would say that you want to do your hourly rate to be your base price. Next, we're going to talk about quoting. There are cheap ways to do quoting, and there are nicer ways to do quoting. So what I do is the cheap way. I learned this from Capri on Instagram, and the way that it works is that you create a Google form that essentially lists out all of what you offer, and make sure that you have like all of your options written down. You know, it has all of the places where people can insert their information, and then you can go to the response tab within the Google form, and you can make it into a spreadsheet so you can view the responses a little bit more professionally and neatly. Another thing that you have to add is a list of all of the extra things that you provide, and make sure that you have a price for them. If you can memorize it, that's great, but it is a lot of stuff, so you may need to have it written down. The next thing that you really need to include if you're doing the cheap way of doing quotes is that you need to make sure you send an email quote summary to the person who has submitted a quote submission. You need to make sure you have a summary of all of the requests. Make sure that you include the price that it comes out to, and make sure that you tell them that this price is not stagnant, that it can change due to things like materials or shipping. You want to make sure that you do this part in a relatively close time, so possibly within 24 to 48 hours, depending on how busy you are. The nice way of doing quotes is a quote calculator. And I have done my research before, and I have not found a free quote calculator anywhere. And quote calculators have been used by Sky High Studios, it's been used by Lemon Brat, and again, you do have to pay a little bit in order to use the calculator and link it up to your site or your form. And what a quote calculator can do is essentially have all of your prices for your extras be seen by the person filling out the form. So they know that, oh, if I add an extra color, it's going to be this amount extra dollars, which is why it's so much nicer than having to send out an email summary. The next part is really, really important, and that is your advertising and your marketing. There are a lot of ways that you can do your advertising and marketing. Of course, you can pay to have ads dispersed on social media sites. This is great if you really want to level up your business, and so more people would be able to see it through the recommended. But if you, again, are on a tight budget, then you can go ahead and post regularly. What I recommend is that you post around maybe once a week, twice a week at 3 p.m., whatever time zone you are. That's when I see that my engagement is highest is at 3 p.m. and so that's when I usually try to upload. You also want to be able to post everywhere and post often, which is why it's good to have a lot of social media accounts. For me, I am on Instagram, I am on Tumblr, I am on YouTube, obviously, and of course I have my own site. I'm on a couple other sites like Facebook, but I don't really use Facebook all that much because I just don't really have a lot of reach there. So again, it's good to have a lot of social medias, post on all of your social medias, be like, hey, I have my commissions, be bothersome. Be bothersome, tell people about your commissions all the time. Like, hey, my commissions, they're open. They're open. Did you know that they're open? Well, guess what? They're open. And you should commission me because guess what?
They're open.
And the last part of your advertising and marketing is providing immediate sources. And what that means is if you tell someone like, hey, go to this website so you can commission me, that's great. But what people are looking for, like if you have the link to your website in your bio, because if you just tell people like, hey, you got to go to this site, they'll be like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that, or oh, I'll just do it later, and then they'll probably forget. So you want to make sure that you have links to your most important pieces. So I have a link to my website, I have a link to my YouTube, I have a link to my forums on my Instagram, which is where I mainly advertise. I want to say that commissions, doing fursuit commissions, becoming a fursuit maker is not a very easy task to start up. Beginning a small business is not an easy thing to do. So if you ever get too overwhelmed or you feel like that it's not going to work out, please trust me, if you keep pushing yourself and if you keep doing your research and if you keep looking for answers, then you will get there and you're gonna wonder why you were even worried in the first place. What I would highly, highly recommend is inquire from other makers. It doesn't matter if they're also a beginner or somebody who is a professional. Makers are very, very open to questions about how they run their business. So if you just ask politely, be very direct on what you want to know, then they will let you know. That's gonna be all for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you had learned something from this video. Maybe it helps you on your fursuit making journey and wanting to start up a fursuit making business. If there's anything that I missed, please comment down below and I might be able to have its own video covered in the future. But for now, again, thank you so much. It's been a really long time since I've uploaded on YouTube and it's something that I really want to start doing again. So thank you guys so much for the opportunity. Bye!